Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Takeover Tuesdays. Welcome this morning in Colorado. It's a great day today, so I hope everybody's doing well out there. It is a great day, but I'm hoping Takeover Tuesdays bring some joy to you today because we definitely have a show full of sunshine and a special, amazing guest. But before I get to the guest, if you've never seen Takeover Tuesdays or joined us, this is a platform and a show that connects community. And each week we bring on a new business owner to share their products, their services, their story, and just it, we explore their journey and what they've went through to get to where they're at. Today, I have a special guest, and before I bring her on, even though we don't know each other well, she's already near and dear to my heart because she is Miss Black Colorado 2020. So I'm from Colorado, so of course we got a rep. So without further ado, let me please welcome Emma Dickson.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Emma. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, how's your morning starting out?
Oh, it's been a little hectic just dealing. I was just telling you, I got a new puppy over quarantine. It was definitely an impulse buy, but I love her. It's just hectic walking her and stuff in the freezing cold, but we're making it.
Yeah, I just met Halo. That's her dog's name. Good. Shout out to your dog. She looks like a sweetheart, though.
She's so sweet. She's half cattle dog, so they're really energetic. So I have to exercise her early, but she's sweet.
Yeah. So you're getting the practice for when you do the real thing.
The real thing. I'm like, oh my god, this is so much work. Am I ready? No.
Well, welcome this morning. I am so happy to have you here. We just recently met, and I am so thrilled that we were connected with each other. And we're going to jump right in. Awesome. And the first thing that I'd love to talk about is just tell us a bit about your background and who you are and how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, so a bit about my background. So I have a bit of an untraditional childhood story and upbringing. So I'm actually a transracial adoptee, meaning my parents are white and I'm Black, obviously. And I was adopted at age 2. And so that was definitely interesting growing up in Highlands Ranch, Colorado with white parents as a Black young woman. I definitely dealt with a lot of racial adversities and a lot of just blatant and subliminal racism growing up, and I didn't really know how to deal with that. I didn't really know how to navigate that. And so after high school, I decided to go to Howard University, which is a HBCU, historically Black university, which was a complete polar opposite from my upbringing. But it was an amazing experience. I did half of my undergrad there, but I really learned a lot about my identity and a lot about our culture and how to navigate in this world as a young Black woman. And so after that, I finished my degree at Metro, MSU Denver, go Roadrunners, and I got a degree in speech communication, and I got an emphasis in broadcasting, and I also minored in Africana Studies. And I just really developed that passion for our community there. And then after that, such a long-winded story, I decided to go back to DC, which is where Howard is located, because I just loved it there. And I worked in broadcast for a little bit and realized that wasn't my exact direction and where I wanted to take everything. So I moved back to Denver after that quick year and decided to pursue a career in aesthetics, primarily medical aesthetics. So working to really help people create the best skin for themselves and feel comfortable in their own skin, and doing that through a lot of awesome treatments and services. And through that, I've also developed a passion for health and wellness. Long story short, I want to go back to school, and I was looking for scholarship opportunities, and I stumbled across the Miss Black USA scholarship pageant organization. And I was like, let me just apply and see where it ends up. And I ended up getting to become Miss Black Colorado, and this is in the midst of the COVID craziness. So it was an application process instead of a normal pageant, and I ended up getting it, and I'm here now, and I'm loving it.
Yes. Well, can I first say congratulations? That is
So,
like amazing.
thank
So,
you so much.
yes, and repping Colorado and Black Girl Magic. I love it.
Yes, girl, always, always with the Black girl magic.
Yes, yes, I love it. So, tell us, how did I want to back up a little bit? Here's what I love about you, and I know we talked a little bit yesterday, is that you were willing to take the leaps and courageous enough to say, gosh, things don't work for me, so I'm going to pivot. Talk
Yes.
to me about, I mean, we're learning a lot about pivoting in COVID, but it sounds like you as a young adult, like you were on it as far as pivoting. So what made you take those leaps?
I am such an impulsive person, and it kind of sometimes it's to a fault. But I have always just had a drive to, not only inspire other people because I had such a unconventional upbringing, I didn't always know how to navigate that. But I've always just wanted more for myself. And I think, when I think of my role models as a kid, these are women who were courageous and took leaps of faith for themselves and to better themselves and to learn more and just be better as women. And so that's always been my drive is I've always just wanted to better myself, whether that's, going to school all the way across the country, going to Howard and leaving, Denver, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and doing that, or, coming back here, going back there and becoming, an apprentice at a news station, which was scary for me, just leaving my home again, or just jumping into the Miss Black Colorado role. You have to push yourself to get yourself where you really want to be, and you can't always be comfortable and complacent in your life. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I
Yeah.
come from.
How, so you mentioning how Miss Black Colorado 2020, because of COVID, it looked different this year. How
Mhm.
did that impact the competition?
So we've been back and forth with the organization about the actual pageant date. So originally was supposed to be in August. It's now been pushed to February, and then it was pushed to February. Now it's pushed to August of 2020. So that's been difficult and just kind of pageant prep, but also just how I navigate my role. Doing a lot more, remote interviews. We did a COVID friendly event where we did some fundraising and getting canned goods for groups like Metro Caring, because my platform is all about health and sustainable food systems, which we'll get to. But it's definitely been more remote and just connecting with people online, like how we're doing it now. So traditionally, I wish I could go into news stations and like talk to a bunch of people and go out into the community a lot more. But just being able to communicate with people online, especially in the midst of, Black Lives Matter being as big as it is, and the George Floyd protests and stuff like that, Breonna Taylor, of course, as well. Just speaking out online, being vigilant, for our community and also for other communities to see, that I'm trying to stand for something within the bigger cause.
Hmm. I
Yes.
love it. For those that don't know, can you tell us a bit more about your role as Miss Black Colorado? What does that look like? What is that position, that title? What are your responsibilities?
So it's been, especially with COVID, I didn't get a lot of pageant prep, and, people telling me specifically what to do with this role just because it's been so crazy and up in the air. But I've just been taking initiative and developing a role for myself within the community, whether that's, posting where to go for voting polls, or posting about voting, or, talking about racial justice and the injustices that the Black community is always facing, or getting canned foods and bringing it to Metro Caring, and helping our community and helping people have access to foods, especially in the midst of a pandemic, or doing these interviews and just trying to encourage other women, just speaking out and trying to build my platform in a way that I can encourage others. So it's kind of been up in the air. I've kind of been improvising as I go, but we're making it work.
You know what I like, you, to me, even though you're speaking about Miss Black Colorado, you speak like an entrepreneur, because what I'm hearing is you're just kind of learning on the fly and taking the initiative. But that's what I love, because that's what it takes, right? To do
Yes,
anything amazing, it's just jumping in and taking that initiative,
for sure.
to be that pioneer of it.
Girl, you gotta be quick on your feet.
Yeah. What, what's your ultimate goal with Miss Black Colorado?
So win Miss Black USA, of course, and then take that scholarship money. And I actually want to go and get my MBA. And I actually my 10-year plan is to open a health and wellness center catering to the Black community. Having Black doctors there, Black nurses, Black trainers, or nutritionists, if I can talk, dietitians, estheticians, just everything, and it being a safe place for us to go, and educating the community as well, and providing health foods courses for Black people to help us further ourselves, in the scope of health. So that's what my platform really is about as well, is health and sustainable food systems, and providing education to the Black community as well, as far as how we need to eat for our bodies, how we need to take care of ourselves, how we need to take care of our skin. As an esthetician, of course, that's so important to me. So yes.
Yes, yes, I love it. I have to give a shout out to some of our viewers this morning. Good morning, Jackie. She congratulated you on the title. She says that's awesome. Good morning, Manushka. And it looks like Najla just joined us. Good morning. So I want to talk a bit more about your health and wellness, and especially for people of color, because those of us who know are people of color and know the stat, you mentioned the safety factor.
Yeah.
I definitely know, I want to put out there that I know most care providers are doing the best job they can for us, and they care about us just like anyone else. But unfortunately, the stats do show that some healthcare providers have failed us, people of color, in many ways, and there's a gap and a disparity. So, talk a bit about more about that. Why that's important to you to solve that problem.
Yeah, it's really important to me because I grew up dealing with weight issues, but I also grew up with a couple different health issues. And me growing up in a community where I always felt different, sometimes I felt like it was harder for me to relate to certain healthcare providers, just because I always just felt so different. And I think as Black people, we need more. Not that we obviously need more, but we need more. Obviously, we need more Black doctors and nurses, but we also need more advocacy for ourselves in the health space. Um, you know, our taking care of ourselves can be really, really overwhelming, just as we deal with everyday life, all the stress factors that we deal with, especially as Black people. But sometimes we neglect our health, especially if we're living in low income situations. And so I think us having advocates, people who are there for us, that we relate to on a racial standpoint, and people that look like us, can be really, really helpful in just navigating that world.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about, if you could talk a bit about how, I know you have a little bit, but how you combine those two. So, how do you use the Miss Black Colorado platform? Are you leveraging that with the health and wealth?
Yes. So it's been really difficult with COVID. I've definitely been wanting to work towards creating more like food drives. My goal would be actually to create a mobile food pantry, which I would bring into communities and provide them with fresh fruits and vegetables. Of course, with COVID, it's really hard for me to be able to do that, but also providing education for people as well, ways to shop affordably, to get access to health foods, being able to grow our own food, which I know there's a lot of rules and regulations as far as like growing things, which is growing your own fruits and vegetables, which is crazy to me, but providing people with access to, learning how to garden for themselves and grow things for themselves, because there's so many pesticides sprayed on everything. And also, so many communities struggle with food deserts, especially here in Colorado. We have so many food deserts, which is where people have no access to grocery stores within like a 3-mile radius of their house, especially people who struggle with transportation issues. It's such a problem. And so, if I can eventually work at the legislative level and get laws in place to create more grocery stores, farmers markets, anything to help people have more access to healthy fruits and vegetables, that's definitely my goal with my platform. Of course, with COVID, it's really hard to be able to do those things right now, but down the line, especially if I win Miss Black USA, that's going to be something I'll be really passionate about and working towards.
Good. And if anyone's out there listening,
Yeah.
like Emma said, with COVID, it makes it challenging, but you can start that process
Yeah.
and have it developed. So if there's anyone out there that can support those efforts, that's what this is about. Please tap into us, me or Emma, and we can get you connected with her so you can start to build that.
Thank you so
I
much.
think it's critical. So I want to go back to your childhood, if you don't mind, and just you talked about your growing up in Highlands Ranch and being Black. And for those, I think you mentioned it before, but for those that aren't familiar with Colorado, Highlands Ranch is predominantly white. And talk to me about that experience a little bit more and how that impacts what you do now.
Yeah, so growing up was definitely an interesting experience. I mean, growing up with just all white kids in my classrooms, and especially coming of age and dealing with racial stereotypes, and me feeling like I had to live as the token Black friend or live in the way that my white peers wanted me to be. And that was really difficult for me. And it really was hard for me to shape my identity growing up and just kind of seeing where I fit. And so transitioning into young adulthood, I think, me ending up at Howard and me kind of developing relationships with so many Black men and women, and just seeing that you don't have to fit into this mold that society has created through racism, and just reshaping my identity and who I am, and me being confident as the woman I am today, was definitely a long journey. But I'm really grateful to be here.
Yes, yes. Can
Yeah.
you talk about it? What's the positives that you took out of being the Black person in a predominantly white community?
Some positives. I think I developed a. It's hard to explain to people who like don't understand, but or haven't grown up in this kind of way. I feel like I have a sense of confidence. I think I had to carry myself as as the only Black person in class, in a specific way, being very confident in myself. I always have had to work harder than, a lot of my classmates and peers. And I think that has showcased in my life, as me being just a hard worker and me carrying myself as a confident young woman. Uh, because it is true in our society, Black women have to work harder to get ahead. It's just what it is. And I think I learned that as a young kid, not consciously, but it definitely has carried me into my young adulthood, and me just always wanting to grind and work the hardest out of everybody.
Well, I can definitely see that after talking to you the last couple days. You're definitely making some big
Starbucks life.
making some big moves there.
Listen, I had to get a second job because COVID really is messing up my money.
Hey, honey, you're speaking truth right now. Keeping it real. Yeah, and I respect that. I totally respect that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have to take care of yourself, and that comes first, self-care. So, and a part of that is getting that extra money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
money in that healthcare, okay?
I hear you.
Sure.
That's real. That's real. We're going to kind of transition here into Manushka's question. She says, "I'm curious about the regulations on growing your own food." I was surprised to hear about that.
Yeah, so it's crazy per state. There's so many regulations that specific communities have to follow within growing their own food. There, I cannot remember his name, but he is a like vegan activist. I think he's out of LA, but he had really, I watched his whole TED talk, and he was talking about his experience in transitioning into veganism. And how he wanted to grow his own food because he had done all this research, about all the pesticides they spray on our food. And he lived in an area that was considered a food desert. So he only had access to like horrible, like really old and pesticide sprayed produce. He didn't have access to organic fruits and vegetables, which is absolutely insane. So, but that's how our country is set up. Anyways, he started growing his own food, and he actually got a couple different citations, and I think he ended up, please don't quote me, I wish I remembered his name, but he actually ended up getting arrested because he was growing his own food. And this is out in LA. Different states have different regulations of what you need to follow per like district about growing your own food and like how you can go about it, which is absolutely insane. Like as people, we should just have rights to be able to grow our own food and, you know, take care of ourselves the way that whichever way that we want. But unfortunately, the way our government's set up, you can't just grow whatever you want. And so it's important to obviously, I guess it's important to follow those regulations. But it's important that we speak out against that because that's, you know, our right as a human should be able to grow our own food and feed ourselves the way that we want to. So it's great.
Mhm. That's a good point. That completely makes sense. Completely makes sense.
Thank you.
We're kind of jumping around here, but I've got a couple of questions. Going back to your upbringing, Jackie says, did anyone ever tell you you have to work twice as hard when you were a child, or did you figure it out on your own? And I think you kind of spoke to that.
Yeah. So my parents are very conscious as far as the world of like social justice and civil rights go. And I do remember my mom awkwardly sitting me down. As a white woman, I can't even imagine how awkward that is because you can't relate to that in any way. I mean, as a woman, obviously, but you know, Black women face a lot different adversities. And so she told me, you, unfortunately, the way our world is set up, you are going to have to work harder um, than everyone else. And I didn't fully understand that again because the way I grew up, I just was confused with what was going on just with me and my identity as a Black woman. But as I got into high school, and especially developed as like an adolescent, I kind of picked up on it and I was like, oh, like people talk to me differently. People, you know, tell me about racial stereotypes all the time. And even my teachers were talking to me differently and treating me differently sometimes in class. And so I quickly realized, like, wow, I'm going to have to do something a little bit different than the rest of these kids.
Yeah, and that is a lot of times our reality. I think
Mhm.
I know I can speak to the same thing. My parents did tell me I'm going to have to work twice as hard, and I found that to be the reality when I got into, like you said, school, the workplace. But I love that women like us aren't letting that stop us. And I like you spoke to
Exactly.
this earlier. I believe, from what I've learned of you and known you for the short time, I mean that
Thank
has
you.
really shaped you to put in the drive and the work and the energy that you do. I mean, so it's a
Thank you
blessing.
so much.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to cut this off really quick. I have to get my computer charger. My computer just went from 50% to 1%. Randomly. So give me one second. I put it on the corner. Give me one second. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So I have to share with you guys watching. So this is a broadcast studio platform. So it drains your computer very, very, very quickly. Annalise, hey, how are you doing this morning? Good morning.
Okay, I got it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That was so stressful. I just looked up and I was like, whoa.
I was just telling those who join us, it's the studio broadcast. It eats
Okay.
up a lot. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
lot.
I'm so prepared, but this is
Okay.
crazy.
Uh, let's see. So Paul shared. We'll have to look into this link. He says we should look into this, and I'm not sure. It's probably has to do with the food.
Oh, awesome.
Najla says I'd love to grow my own food. I need to look into Colorado's regulations, and you were just talking about that.
Yes. And so I currently live at home with my dad, but we started growing our own tomatoes, spinach, and basil. And I'm telling you, the freshness, it hits different, girl. It hits different when you grow it yourself.
I agree with that. And look, we just got Manushka says his name is Ron Finley. Thank you, Manushka, for
Yes, thank you, Gardner. Yes, thank you so much, Manushka. I hope I'm saying that right. I completely forgot her name or his name. Please, yeah, watch it. So good.
So it looks like he's called the Gangsta Gardener.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. And she
Yeah.
said she's thanks for the reminder of watching. I'll have to check out his TED Talk too. I have not.
Yes, please check it out. It's absolutely amazing to hear his story.
So I know that we don't have a lot of time left, and I want to touch on a couple of things because I definitely want those out listening or anyone who goes back and views this to be able to contact you if they have questions, want to support you in your journey to Miss National. So
Yes.
yes, how do they support you and tap into you and everything you're doing?
So you can find me on Instagram. I don't know if I can like put it in the chat here.
Yep.
Type it in here. It's at the at the Emma Elise, and that is my official Instagram. And then you can also follow me on YouTube. I have some new content that I'm going to be posting there soon. So you can also follow me on YouTube at Emma Elise. And then I also have a GoFundMe. I'm just taking little bits of donations just to help prep me for nationals. I'm not pocketing it. I swear I'm prep for nationals. And it's the road to Miss Black USA. And I can plug all of these in for you guys as well. Road to Miss Black USA on GoFundMe. You can follow me there as well.
Yes, because I definitely want people to be able to support you.
Please. Thank you.
What are the deadlines on donations or funds and all of that? What are your deadlines?
So my original deadline for the national pageant was January 31st, just 2 weeks before I was gonna get on the plane to go to DC for nationals, which nationals will be held in Washington DC. But now, since we just got the email from the headquarters that we're postponing to August, I'm just taking donations as I see, and they'll all be going to a separate account where it's going to help me just get ready for getting my dress, getting the plane ticket to go to DC, paying for the hotel, and just kind of working on different projects that I have as far as my platform.
Okay. Okay, good. And I'm sharing with all of our guests where they can get in contact with you. Is there anything that we didn't get to touch on that you really think is important and need to share, or just want to share by yourself?
The only thing I just feel important to touch on is just that we support each other all as just Black men and women. With everything going on right now, and that has been going on, I know a lot of people are like, it's so crazy right now. I'm like, it's been going on. It's just important that we just continue to lift each other up in positivity. I know that social media is just so insanely daunting, just with and even watching the news. I worked in news, and it was just, a lot of it is truly negative, and it can be really overwhelming. But just reaching out and checking in on each other is so important. I have a group chat with my friends that we just honestly just come in and check on each other. How's your mental health? Especially with COVID, we're also anxious and stressed, and we just don't know what's going to come of the next year. So please just support each other and just love on each other. And honestly, feel free to reach out to me if you just are looking for any support. And yeah, just positivity and spread the love.
I am so with it, and I love that you mentioned that. Thank you for mentioning that about supporting each other and loving on each other. All about it, because we know on any regular day, right? We need that support and love and care, but especially right now, these are very, very trying times for all the layers.
Oh, definitely. I've been breaking out in my cheeks, which is the stress area on your face. I'm like, I know I'm stressed.
Yeah.
When I'm breaking out my cheeks, I'm like, yep.
Yeah. So thank you for spreading that love, for sure. It means a lot. And it looks like Eddie joined us. Thank you, Eddie. Yes, this has been an amazing platform to share. I had to pivot and shift during COVID. Couldn't do these. I'd love to do these interviews one day, hopefully, in an actual studio instead of doing it on a platform studio. But for now, this works, and
this works great. I'm so grateful to you, Jessica. Literally, this has been awesome, and that time really flew by.
I know. It goes fast, and I'm like, gosh, there's so much to cover. But I can definitely have you back. I always love to have guests on another round, and I invite you back because I know there's going to be so many updates. I mean, you're doing so many things that are evolving.
Thank you.
I know you're going to always have something to share.
Hot girl.
Yeah.
Even if there's nothing going on, I'm like, let's just chat. Let's just kiki.
Exactly. I know. So we're gonna keep in touch, and I'm definitely anything I can do to share out things for you, you know, and in your journey to nationals, I am all about it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So, well, I think we're out of time for today. Uh, as Emma said, please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, just love on others. We need it. Everybody needs it, especially Black people. We know it's trying times. It's been, like Emma said, it's been trying times. For those that are facing any adversaries, you're facing health issues, I am thinking about you. I am sending you well wishes, good energy, and please stay encouraged, stay inspired, and until next time, see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Emma.
Bye.